gentlemen, with the Season 2 patch quite literally just around the corner, and whatever else it may hold, let us begin with this week's EU Power Rankings, because this is the Daily Rocket for February 10th, 2016. My name is Shalthus. You know me. You know what I do. And, yeah, it is time. It is time to get down to business. So, as I said, we have the patch. The big upcoming patch is on the horizon. I guess the game is going to be coming down in about, I guess, an hour or so for them to prep for that. I believe that time is right. Either way, it's going to be coming down later today. They'll prep for the patch. Patch will go live. Everyone's going to be happy because the new season will debut. And no more terrible ranked mode, no more points. Hopefully, good stuff all around. But, regardless, we have a power ranking to get to. So, I know for a fact that these rankings are not out yet. So I'm debuting them here. And you might notice that the teams that are on the bubble are not numbered. That's because those rankings aren't done yet completely by everybody. So I just put all of the teams that I know could potentially fall in that 11 through 15 bracket. The numbers 1 through 10 are good. Why does my chat box look so weird? Let's fix that, shall we? We're going to give this a quick little fix. Or try to give this a quick little fix. Maybe that'll do. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, cool. Oh, is it Hulu there? Alright, well, either way. The point being, those rankings aren't done, so those numbers aren't in place yet, but the numbers 1 through 10 are done, and those rankings are ready, so we can reveal those rankings. A little bit of interesting change throughout. There's been a lot of, I want to say there's been a lot of disagreement on the committee this week. We all put things in a very interesting position this week. Don't worry, the chat's back. It's not going nowhere. But anyway, yeah, it's been a little interesting just to see how these teams fall. But let's get down to it, shall we? Starting off with number 10, Stoic. So Stoic comes in at number 10. They've dropped one spot this week. Stoic has had a decent week, but the biggest reason they fell really, again, is due to the activity around them. It's something that unfortunately plagues a lot of teams, especially in this area of the bracket, or this area of the rankings, that it's very hard to maintain your spot unless you do better than you did the previous week, because if some other team starts to excel, they might move up and bump you down. The movement happens quite a bit in this area, and Stoic unfortunately fell to 10th because of that. But regardless of that, Stoic still on these power rankings, still in the number 10 spot, still at least has that. And that's the important thing. But Stoic coming in at number 10. Number 9, Anivia RL. So, a very good week for Anivia, I would say. I don't know if it's Anivia, Anivia. I'm not sure. Either way, doesn't matter. I always call them Anivia, but I kept hearing Technolink refer to them as Anivia, which sounds like a bottled water brand. But, I don't know. But in any event, Anivia in 9th place. Had a very good week this week. They actually had a tremendous series against Crown and Jewels at the ESL Monthly Finals, taking them to a full 5-game set, almost beating them. The last game was actually a 1-0 decision in favor of Crown and Jewels, so it was by a hair that Anivia didn't actually take out, one of the top teams in the world. So really good showing by them, and I can expect to see really good things from Anivia. If they were not in the top 10, I would probably have them, as my team to watch, but they performed far better than just being a team to watch. They are definitely a team that is worth, keeping a really close eye on. They are a very fantastic squad, so seeing them move forward should be very good. So, number 9, Anavia moving up 1 spot from last week. Number 8, Spectral. So, unfortunately, Spectral takes a bit of a tumble, going down 3 spots this week after a very rough showing against MyXMG, as well as a bit of a rough showing in the Gfinity tournament. So, not a good week for Spectral, and it's getting a little difficult for them. If we take a look at the RLC standings right now, they're in such a precarious position to even qualify for the playoffs. It's frankly practically impossible. It's not mathematically impossible, but based off the criteria they'd have to meet, it mostly relies on the other teams around them, and that's not the kind of position you want to be in. So, unfortunately, yeah, they are esports wall. That's my mistake. But on the power ranking list, they're still shown as Stoic. I believe over this past week they were still Stoic, but it'll be updated by next week. But in any event, yeah, Spectral, definitely a big tumble. We do know that Remco not on Spectral any longer. That's a big change to their roster. Could have big ramifications going forward. Spectral does have a bye week in the RLC Pro League this upcoming week, so they have a week to recuperate, then come back during the Week 7 results and see how they fare, and give it one last swing at the fences and see what they do. But they're in a position where if the most games they can win is 12, and both MyXMG and Supersonic Avengers are either 1 or 2 wins away from surpassing that, which mathematically would eliminate them from being in the playoffs. So, it's going to be tough, but we'll see how they fare in the final week. So coming in at number 7, the Three Musketeers. Three Musketeers having a very good week this week, earning a spot up in the power rankings, moving up from 8th last week, getting some nice showings in ESL and Gfinity, and no major tournament wins. They were dealing with a very game Crown and Jewels this week in almost every European tournament, but they are looking very good, and I would say Three Musketeers certainly in a position where they stand a chance to be much more prolific in the coming weeks, or at least in the coming months, I should say, on the competitive scene outside of things like ESL and Gfinity. So, but good showing for them to make it to this point right now up to number 7. This might be one of their highest placings. I'd have to go back in the history and check. But for a lot of what they did, they had a fairly good run. Number 6, Noble Esports. So Noble not, again, going a week, holding down that number 6 spot, not making any real movement, but still having a good week to a decent week. As it stands right now, Noble is kind of hanging back and forth between a couple of things, and they've got a big contest coming up during RLC. The last 2 weeks of the season are coming up for them, and their opportunity to try and qualify for the playoffs is there. They just have a difficult round ahead of them in a couple pretty challenging matches. But, with that being said, Noble Esports just holding down that number 6 spot for now, and we'll see how they fare going into the future. Number 5, SK Gaming. So SK technically goes bumped up 2 spots this week. They did have a better week than usual, getting that win over Noble in the Pro League, going 3-2 in that series. They are still in a precarious position because they're still not quite looking like the team they used to, but due to the movement around them, they gained a little bit more in the rankings than, maybe you'd say they should have. But because they have that win over Noble, they're still in that position to be in a better spot. But yeah, SK Gaming taking number 5 this week. They are in a similar position right now where they're on the verge of potentially making the playoffs, but they have to have 2 really good weeks, and unfortunately, their final 2 series are going to be against the top 2 teams in Europe in the Pro League. So they're stuck with Flipside and Crown and Jewels in the final 2 weeks. So they will have a difficult time. But then coming in at number 4, MyXMG, holding down their same spot from last week. MyXMG had a tremendous series in the Pro League this past week, going 5-0 against Spectral. So they held on to that. And, yeah, otherwise MyXMG doing fairly well. But the problem is, of course, the teams above them are a little more difficult to deal with. But in any event, MyXMG is going to own that number 4 spot, looking very good going into the final week of the season, where right now they are holding down that third place spot in the standings. Could stand to move, secure that place based off of the last 2 weeks of the season. Coming in at number 3, Crown and Jewels. Again, no movement on the part of Crown and Jewels, which is a little unfortunate for them because they had a dynamite week this week, winning 3 major tournaments this past week alone. So those are huge results for Crown and Jewels. Unfortunately, none of them came at the advantage of the 2 teams above them. And it's hard to get that kind of movement there when you're not beating those teams or looking like you are in a position to beat those teams. So as it stands right now, Crown and Jewels have a very good ownership of that number 3 spot and still looking like a big team to beat in the European scene, having won ESL, the monthly final, and Gfinity all in 1 week. So a really good showing for them. And then we get to our top 2. So coming in at number 2, Supersonic Avengers, who hold on to the number 2 spot, and hold on to that spot with coming off of a 3-2 set win against Flipside Tactics. Now, some people might be asking, how come Supersonic Avengers is in second place? Why wouldn't they be in first place? They beat Flipside, didn't they? Well, technically, yes. But we have to look at this is not a week-to-week thing, this is an overarching thing that... The way I like to explain it is, it's like a window. And the window moves ahead every week, but it's always looking at more than just a single week. Excuse me. And because of that, Supersonic Avengers has a win over Flipside, yes. But it was a 3-2 win when just a week prior or so, they had a 5-0 loss. So those two things have to balance out, and until... If Avengers can be more consistent, then they can pay that out. But as it stands right now, they have a good, solid ownership of that number 2 place. But, of course, no surprise here. Number 1 is Flipside Tactics. So, despite the results of this past week where Flipside would go down 3-2 to Supersonic Avengers, they still maintain that number 1 spot for now. And we'll see how they fare going into the last week. They have 1 more week to play, which is next week. So week 6 is going to be their last week in the Pro League before their bye week of week 7. But right now they're in a good spot to very likely take the second place overall in the standings based off of how the rest of the games look. Could take number 1 depending on what Crown and Jewels does, but it looks like they'll probably take number 2. But in any event, there is your top 10. A very fantastic bit of results. And some interesting movement, all around. And I'm eager to see how this changes next week and how things play out. But there you have it, your top 10. So with that being said, you know how the routine goes at this point. The floor is yours. Q&A is now open if you have any questions about the competitive scene, about the power rankings, about the game itself, or anything else that strikes your fancy. Post your question in the chat right now. Why am I not casting the spinning ball stream? Because I'm doing this. So... I don't know when Season 2 is going to kick off after everything goes down. Presumably as soon as possible. But I don't know exactly. Who do I think will go with above GG? That's a good question. I don't know what they're after. And I don't know what they're offering. And that's a big factor as to who actually joins up with them. Depending on what they're offering, and depending on what sort of team they're looking for, You know, I could see it being practically anybody. I just don't know what they're offering, so that's the biggest thing. You know, if they're not offering anything substantial, I don't see a team like Avengers or Urban or anything like that going with them, because they're all kind of waiting on the, you know, explosion of the competitive scene to really appeal to some major teams who can offer them something substantial. So that's what it comes down to, I think. Who am I guessing will be in the finals in the Pro League? Of the actual tournament? That's hard to say because I don't know how the bracket's going to be laid out. But I'm certainly going to guess that Flipside and Cosmic and Kings are going to be three of the more interesting teams to watch in the tournament. Probably Crown and Jewels too. All four of those teams are good tournament teams. What team has the sexiest players and why is it my XMG? Can't say for sure. You have to argue. Team Rocket would argue that point. How to not suck at this game? You got to keep playing it. That's really all you can do. Keep playing, keep practicing. Go into aerial training, practice that. You'll get better. Just takes time. You want me to cast the spinning ball? I don't think I can cast the spinning ball. Yeah, Supersonic Avengers didn't crush Flipside. They won that set 5-2. And they had, you know, a couple very nice games, but they were very high scoring, but relatively close. You know, there were no, like, it wasn't enough for me to say, oh, they should move into first place, especially not after the week prior, where they went 5-0. But again, it's consistency, so we'll see how it plays out. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where rookie tiers go. If you look at the thing scrolling on the screen now where it says on the bubble, those are all the teams that may fall into those 11 through 15 spots, but those ranks haven't been finalized yet, so I don't know who exactly is in what position. But if you're on that list, you're an on-the-bubble team, which means you're on the cusp, literally on the verge, of getting into the top 10, depending on how your week goes next week. Like, just because, you know, just because you're ranked 11th or 12th or 13th really doesn't have that much of an impact, because all of those spots are so close together that a team in 15th or the theoretical 16th spot can move all the way up into 10th or something like that based off having a really good week. So, I know, Stoic is esports wall. It'll be updated next week. Don't you worry. Team Rocket's on the bubble. So I don't know exactly where they place, because those ranks aren't done, but they are on the bubble right now. For a team to become a team to watch, it's really about, basically, big wins aren't necessary. It's more about a little bit of consistency. You know, constantly showing up on the radar. Usually if you're on the bubble, you are more eligible than any other team to be a team to watch, because that means you're starting to poke your nose into the scene. You're looking like you're building some momentum. And sometimes that pays off, and the teams that we watch end up getting into the rankings. Sometimes they fizzle out, you know, we don't know for sure. But it's really just about getting decent performance. You don't have to beat the top teams or anything, but I would say, you know, placing very well in ESLs or Gfinities really helps, and things like that. Do you think in the future we'll see teams with more than 3 or 4 player rosters with players with different strengths? it's entirely possible. You know, especially as the scene gets a lot bigger to support it. I know that it didn't quite work out on the Noble side, but I don't think it's entirely unlikely to happen. I'd have to double check Nope's results to see where they where they're placed on here. Will the new maps be in the RLC Pro League? Not this season, no. No, they will not be. A little too late to start introducing dramatically different maps into the competitive scene. So, yeah, will not happen. Hey, Gibbs, how you doing? Yeah, you need to be relatively consistent in terms of your performance. You know, you need to look pretty good to be noticed initially. You don't have to win major tournaments. I mean, when you get down to the lower part of the rankings here, like I would say from 8 down, you can move into those 3 spots just by winning a tournament. Like, you come onto the scene and you win a tournament, you could move into to one of those spots. So it's very fluid in that area. And the further down you go, the more fluid it gets. There will be more maps for sure in the competitive scene, but not yet. But yeah, Season 2 is going to be on or the Season 2 patch at least, is going to be out and about in just a little bit of time. So, that will be interesting. I know I'm interested to take these new maps for a spin. I'm more interested to see the patch notes and see what other little changes they've made that don't get the publicity of Season 2 or the new maps or anything like that. So, I'm eager to find that out. I know, Gibbs, you want Cosmic. Now they hopefully have a better opportunity to roll it out. So we'll see if they do that. What do I think Remco will do now? I don't know. You know, that's a hard question because, you know, a lot of the teams that surround him have full rosters. They're set. They're good. So I don't know where the opportunity is going to lie. But I don't know. Maybe he already has a plan. All right. Oh, that'd be good, Gibbs. Well, if he wants to respond, he can. That's his call. But yeah, if you have any more questions, now is the time. This probably won't be going super late as far as the stream goes. Joining Yemen, huh? How do I feel about the new maps? I think the new maps are great. I think it's about time we got some new, dramatically different, non-standard maps. I like that they have a process in place that is going to allow them to debut maps faster. But yeah, I think it's awesome and very exciting, and I'm looking forward to taking it out for a little bit of a spin. I don't know. I don't know if there's one in particular I'm excited for. I don't really have a good look at all of them in particular. So I'm just excited to see new maps, like new, really different maps. So in competitive, probably not for a little bit, unless a couple of teams are like, "Hey, do you want to play on, you know, Utopia Retro?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." You know, but I don't think. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for players to get used to the new maps, and then to make sure that they're viable in competitive, and there's no like bugs or, you know, major glitch issues that could cause problems. So I did read that article, yeah. I thought it was very interesting. There's certainly going to be more coming too. So yeah, John, I probably will actually. I don't know if I'll do it tonight. I'll have to think about it, but I might come in later tonight and stream some of the new maps and take stuff for a bit of a spin, I guess. We'll see. We shall see. Yeah, Wasteland is going into ranked mode, which I know has some debate with some people. But, and of course we got the news that the Xbox version has an official launch date of the 17th. So for those of you who've been eagerly awaiting the Xbox One version, it is on the horizon. But of course the most exciting thing now is definitely the new patch, which is going to be rolling out very soon. So I don't know how quickly it's going to be. We know that the servers are going to be down in about half an hour. That's when everything will begin to roll out. And that includes Season 2, that includes the new maps, that includes whatever else they're throwing in with it too. So what is my highest rank? Not very. I don't play very much, so I'm not very good at this game. At least from a playing perspective. If I'm observing it, I think I'm fairly good, but that's about it. But at least I will no longer be unranked in any modes. I think that's the important thing. Because now I'll have some sort of rank as long as I play my placement matches. Yep. Yeah, the Halo car and Gears of War, some kind of Gears of War car, those are the exclusives for Xbox. And if they're adding a report system, it's about time, and that just means they have the staffing to handle it. So, it's necessary. Yeah, if I stream, it's not going to be till much, much later tonight anyway, so I'll probably die down off some of the hype, or at least the immediate hype. So that should be good. Yeah, there you go. You can see my exact stuff there. There ain't much. Like I said, I don't play. I don't even remember the last time I played the game. I mean like played and not was just in it. It's been a few weeks actually. Yeah, I got the bronze crown coming, so I got that much going for me. So at least that's nice. All right, final call for questions, and then I'm going to be wrapping things up here pretty soon. So if you have any questions, go ahead and post them up in the chat right now. Last call. Let me check what's going in. I mean, it will introduce more people to the game, but the problem with it being is that it's going to be its own isolated little world, since the Xbox One version won't cross-play with any other version, which is a bit of a pain. Alright, let's see if there's any other questions before we wrap things up here. Yes, I've seen the 24-hour spinning ball stream. But, well, speaking of a 24-hour spinning ball stream, I will allow you all to get back to that if that's what you're interested in. But for me, I think I'm going to wrap things up here for today. I hope you had a fantastic day. Thank you very much for tuning in to the European Power Ranking Show. I will be back maybe later today to do some streaming of the new patch and all that new stuff for fun. Or at the very least, I'll be back on Friday for the NA Power Rankings. So, NA Power Rankings show coming up soon. But regardless of that, thank you all so much for being a part of this. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I will see you all next time. Enjoy your balls.